Journey into a world where the art of fly tying transcends time, preserving the intricate legacy of its greatest masters. Each meticulously crafted fly, a testament to unparalleled skill and innovative design, awaits your discovery. This is the Masters Fly Tyers Archives.
Okay, the next fly that I'm going to be tying is called the usual. Now this is a very unusual fly, not to make a pun. I'm using the foot, and if I can find one here, from a snowshoe rabbit. Now the snowshoe rabbit, I have to explain why this happened. It happened mostly by accident. I had tied probably a couple hundred haystacks one day, and somebody had brought down in a foot of a snowshoe rabbit, and it was on my desk, so I looked at it and I said, well, I'm going to tie a haystack with a snowshoe rabbit foot. I reasoned that because a snowshoe rabbit walks around all winter on his feet in the snow, it's relatively waterproof. And it is. It's extremely waterproof. But there's one other feature of a snowshoe rabbit that you don't find in deer hair. It's extremely fine hair. So you can load that fly, you can load the hook with a lot more fibers than you could by using deer hair. So being a denser fly, it has a tendency to really float well, extremely well. So I tied up a few of these, put them on my desk, and they look good, so I just thought this can be interesting. So I kept a half a dozen of them on my desk, and a guy named Bill Phillips that wrote The Stream and the Rod walked in that day, and he happened to hang around my shop a lot. And I looked at him and I said, Bill, I got a new fly for you to try out. He took the half a dozen of them and went out in the stream, and he came back a couple of hours later and he had a big grin on his face. And Bill had big bushy eyeballs and he always had a pipe in his mouth. He said, I'll be damned, that thing works. And Bill fished that fly for many, many, many years until he died. But he would be fishing in the Catskills or Pennsylvania or wherever, and people would ask him, what did you get those trout on, Bill? And he'd say, the usual. So I named the fly the usual and did an article for Fly Fishing Magazine on it. And that name is stuck. And I tied a clump of snowshoe rabbit hair from the foot back at the tail like that, tied on. The tail, just stick it out. It don't have to go out very far from the tail. Then again, I bring the thread back 2/3 of the way back from the bend of the hook to the eye. Now the reason I do that on so many flies is that by doing that I'm able to put more hackle or more hair. I'm able to increase the amount so it holds the fly up better in fast water. And if you tie it back too far, the fly has a tendency to kick up on you. It doesn't float properly. Next step I do is to clip a little bit bigger bunch of rabbit hair. Okay. Don't try using rabbit hair for this fly because it won't work. You need that hair from the foot of a snowshoe rabbit, which is really a varying hair. It's not a rabbit. And I've tied that in like that clump in on the top of the hook, about 2/3 of the way back from the bend. I clip it off like that, and then I hold it up, and again wind enough wraps to make that hair stand up. You don't want it vertical, but you want it leaning slightly back over the eye. And the reason for that, as I'll explain when I finish this fly, the reason that you do that. And it is critical to how you tie this fly to make this fly work well. Okay, I've got the tail, I've got the hair for the snowshoe rabbit's foot with a hackle. Then I can take the dubbing from the base of a rabbit's foot, if you want that little light gray, or I can use Australian possum that's dyed cream, or I can use Australian possum that's an olive. So again, with this fly you can imitate different insects that come off the water by changing the color of the body. I would dub that fur directly on to the thread again, pre-waxed thread, like that. I will start at the base of the tail, way back by the bend of the hook. I will come to the wing, and when I get to the wing, I will hold that wing forward, and I will finish the wraps of the body back to the eye of the hook, so that the whole body is wrapped from tail back to the eye, and the wing comes up about 2/3 of the way back. And I will explain how you fish this fly and why it's so critical to tie it this way. It makes a difference whether the fly works or not. Clip that off. Put a dab of cement at the thread to make sure that it won't come off. Now notice that the wing again is tied back slightly like that. When you're fishing this fly, it's a perfect imitation for an emerging caddis. By dropping your rod tip down and with the hand on the line, pulling this fly under, it pulls under very easy, but it's so buoyant that it pops right back up again like a caddis coming out of the water. And when you pull it under, you're pulling against that bend of the hackle like that, the hair. And when you release it, it kicks back and kicks it right back to the surface again. So it's an extremely important fly to imitate caddis. And again, there's a lot of people that swear by this as their most productive fly. You can imitate, again, almost any caddis. Caddis come off the water in a number of sizes. There's about 1,600 documented types of caddis that come off the water that trout feed on. But by changing the color, you can imitate all of those. There's a pumpkin caddis that comes off in September. It's a big one. So I tie these big with a rusty orange body. It's a good imitation for that. A great fly. Catches fish everywhere. You want to tie it down, you get on short streams, smaller streams in the Catskills, slower water, then you wouldn't tie it in the big size. You probably would tie it down to a 16 or an 18, even smaller. It can be tied down like to a 20 or a 22 to imitate those small micro caddis that come off. That is a deadly fly.